On this episode of the podcast, Todd interviews Peter Rahal, co-founder of RXBAR.
Hi, this is Todd from South Loop Strength and Conditioning, and I'm here today with my friend Peter Rahal, one of the co-founders of RXBAR, and we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about business, competition, why business is like sport, why this guy thought he could start a protein bar company and take on power bars, all that type of stuff. Peter, thanks for being here, man.
Thank you for having me, Todd.
So, a few years ago, we were both in River North CrossFit, and you came up to me. And for anyone who doesn't know Peter, he's kind of like a soft-spoken guy who will just kind of like sidle up to you and say weird stuff, which is cool. That's an admirable trait. But he kind of sidles up to me and just sort of says, "Hey, I'm thinking of starting a protein bar company. What do you think?" And I just kind of was like, I have no idea, man. Like, I just actually don't know. Like, I don't know anything about protein bars. I don't know anything about your capacity to make protein bars. I don't know anything about protein bars specifically for CrossFit. I know nothing about any of this, but it sounds like a good idea, so I hope it works for you. And since then, that was probably, 3.5, 4 years ago at this point.
Yeah,
or something
3.5
like
years.
Yeah. And since then, RXBAR has become a legitimate business outside of the CrossFit community as well. These guys are in Trader Joe's all across the country, which is actually really awesome. And I'm a regular Trader Joe's shopper, and I see totally basic, normal people buying RX bars there almost every time I go in. So that's good for you.
Yes.
Yeah, man. What made you think you could start a protein bar company? Why would you have that idea? Why would you ask me about it?
Yeah, it's funny. I still remember working out at 5 o'clock and coming with samples. So just simply like we saw a pretty big product gap. And for us, the question was like, why are all the protein bars full of shit? Like, why isn't there a natural protein bar? And so me and my partner Jared decided to make one, and we had really humble beginnings. Like, I remember like showing up to River North CrossFit with like eggs all over me and like sampling and like getting people's feedback.
Who is this weird?
Yeah, like who's this weird guy? Like, so yeah, we just saw a huge gap. Like, and the reason why there wasn't one is because it's expensive and it takes hard work and the market's competitive as hell. So, like, the world didn't need another protein bar in 2013, right? So, we just saw a gap and saw an opportunity with CrossFit to kind of get the business started, and it was a product that people needed. I had a home, and so we just went with it, and brick by brick just started.
Sure. So at some level, this is you scratching your own itch of like, okay, I want a protein bar, but I'm on the paleo diet, and like all this stuff is garbage and it's full of soy protein and rice syrup and
yeah, 100%
glycerin.
Yeah, 100. Like I love bars. It fit my lifestyle. I was always on the go, just like everybody. And I wasn't necessarily paleo, but I just wanted real food, good, like high value foods. I don't want like kind of bullshit ingredients or ingredients that I know are just kind of cheap fillers. So like every ingredient had like value and substance, and so yeah, it was filling our own need for sure.
Sure, and that's something I heard you say before, just about ingredients having a purpose. Like, what do you mean by that? So, say someone is looking at, again, a package for a protein bar or something, and again, you're seeing like glycerin or like xanthan gum or something like that. I mean, clearly those ingredients have a purpose, or else those wouldn't be in there. So, like, what do those things do? What do you mean by like?
Yeah, so those ingredients have like formulation purposes. Like one, either to stretch. For example, glycerin helps control water activity and helps, like, it's a sugar alcohol, which helps keep it soft. When I talk about value, it's about like nutritional value, right? Everything's got to be relevant. It can't just be like a filler or something that like functionally extends shelf life, or something that like is a filler that fills it with air. That it's about. It's really we formulated from a consumer's perspective, not like a big CPG's perspective, which is different.
Yeah, so a lot of these ingredients are effectively meant to, like you said, extend shelf life or sort of like stretch out ingredients or make packaging easier or something like that.
Exactly.
But there's not an actual benefit to the consumer other than potentially getting a cheaper product.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Cool. So at some level, you're handicapping yourself then in the marketplace by refusing to play by these rules.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, for sure.
So what do you guys do instead then? Do you have like creative ways of achieving similar results, or you just say, you know what, our market doesn't necessarily care if this bar, lasts for 10 years?
Well, we shorten our shelf life to 9 months. We shorten our supply chain, so we're like as close to the source as possible. We buy direct, and then our packaging.
What does that mean, right? So supply chain, you mean for ingredients, like your
Yes.
actual egg whites and all that type of stuff?
Exactly. We buy it like ready to order, so like we don't carry like we buy an ingredient, it goes to a bar in 2 weeks. Like we don't carry 6 months of inventory and like let this stuff sit in a bag and box for months, and like we don't buy from a distributor who like we have a custom and it's what I call like a short supply chain. So like that's how you do it. Like so that's basically like supply. Like running an efficient supply chain, which isn't easy. Yeah, like working hard basically, right? And then like packaging's we have the highest quality like film barrier, so like moisture and oxygen barrier. So those are things you can do to improve it.
Sure. So typically then, say a manufacturer would have a distributor who they work with for ingredients. So a lot of the stuff is just sitting on pallets in warehouses somewhere, and then they ship it to whatever processing plant, and they start to make stuff, and you basically just cut all that out and say, all right, here, we're
exactly.
buying these egg whites and we're making them right away.
Mm-hmm. So my background's in the raw material, like in the fruit supply chain, basically.
Got it.
So knowing that was an advantage in the beginning. So
Sure. So you have some experience then understanding, well, especially with fruit then, which is obviously more perishable than glycerin.
yes,
I suppose.
yeah.
Right. So you kind of had an understanding of how that supply chain works in terms of moving things quickly through it, and you figured you could accomplish the same thing with the raw materials for a protein bar.
Mm-hmm. And that stuff matters for sure. So
Sure.
like our bars aren't covered in chocolate, which is like another, that hides it. That hides any mistake.
Have you done any focus groups on that? So I bet you just covered it.
No, anything covered in chocolate's better.
People are
so
going to be like, yes, please make this flavor.
it's not.
We need it.
That's not our position. Maybe one day.
Yeah, maybe one day when you guys sell out.
No. Don't say that, Sean.
Or you just get bought by another bar company, and they're just like, I'll just make all the same flavors plus all the same flavors covered in chocolate.
Yeah, I mean, our motto is like we just don't cut corners. Like when I think about it, like we don't, because something takes more work. That doesn't stop us. It's about doing it right and doing it well.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. So, in terms of growing this company, right? It's moved from you whipping up bars at home and bringing them into local CrossFit gyms to, again, being distributed across the country in major grocery chains. For you, as you kind of look back on it, what have been tipping points, right? So there's probably at least a few points where it's like you went from level A to level B, from level B to level C, all that type of stuff. Can you think of any examples of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. So Jared and I started in my parents' basement on the weekends, working around the clock, making bars on the weekend, then coming door to door basically in Chicago, different places, and selling them. So, I think about when I reflect on it, it's there's just a ton of little wins that all add up, and there's some key decisions that we made that have been wins for us. A ton of our rebranding is probably the biggest inflection point, I think it's called.
Sure.
We we realized that our baby was ugly, right? That's the big thing, and we weren't afraid to change, and it was time to kind of invest in what we were about. Because before, we started the business with very little, and we didn't have any money to invest in good design or art. We designed everything ourselves, and so that was the point where we were all right, why are we here? What are we doing? Like, and made some artwork, and the brand aligned with that. So that was probably our biggest, we call it tipping point.
Sure, and that was relatively recently.
Yeah, literally a year ago. So
Yeah.
September 2015 is when we came out with that.
Sure. So the packaging basically went from, I guess you made it of just like
Yeah.
a peanut, and like it said RXBAR, and
Yeah, it was bad.
yeah, I mean it was fine.
It worked.
Yeah, it was fine.
But that's like an important lesson there is like my baby was ugly.
Yeah.
And like putting aside my ego and being like okay with change, like seeking change.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the rebrand though, talk about that, because I think that's actually really interesting.
We just went back to like the origin, like why are we making this product? Like, what's important? Why do people like it? And in our common sales story, it was like on the back was this like equation of like 3 egg whites, 2 dates, and like 6 almonds that equals an RX bar, and like that was why that was like the powerful value proposition, and it just became clear that like that's like our real differentiation, and I don't know.
Yeah, sure. What you want to emphasize, right? So the packaging
Yeah.
now, the actual bulk of the package of the bar is the ingredients, right? The front of the bar says the ingredients actually bigger than it says RX bar.
And the thing, if you look at the market, everyone's all about flavor, like appetite appeal, so it has like a big like caramel cake or something on it, and then like huge logo of the brand, and then like claims out the door of gluten-free soy, all this stuff, and like we didn't want to just like conform to what traditional like design architecture was about, and we just went the other way. And like to give you an idea, everyone we showed this to in the preliminary rounds were like, this is a mistake. Your logo's too small. Like there's no appetite appeal. And like just like when I came to you in 2013, was like, hey, I'm gonna start a protein bar company, and like you just have to use your intuition and ignore kind of naysayers. But yeah.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's I mean, that's a gutsy call, right? To sort of say, you know what, we're going to disregard all the standard advice for branding for something like this. But in your case, it obviously pays off, right? But then the other question is okay, why does that pay off, right? Is it because you're targeting a specific niche of consumers who are fed up with, you know, the caramel cake, like honey glazed whatever thing, or is it because the conventional wisdom is wrong?
I think people want transparency. They want to know what's in their food, and you know they don't want bullshit in their food, and we're totally in line with that. So that's the main. I think that's really what resonates with people. People don't want added sugar. People want to know what they're eating. We make it very easy. It just shows our like product philosophy as well.
Sure. Yeah. And then what about? I don't know if you want to talk about this on the podcast. What about the RXBAR stuff with people who weren't necessarily from the CrossFit community?
What do you mean?
In terms of the implication of things being prescribed.
Oh yeah, there's just like our DNA is CrossFit. That's where we started, and we're proud of our origin, and we'll always stay true to it. And it's not like RX doesn't mean prescription. It's like RX, we feed your pursuit. That's really what we're about. And so there's kind of misunderstanding sometimes, but we're confident we can kind of win that battle, I'd say.
I just love the idea of like someone coming into a Trader Joe's and seeing an RX bar and being like, oh good, I have Crohn's disease. This is exactly
yeah. It's not a clinical product.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's a natural product. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the packaging actually solves that in a very clever way.
Yeah.
It's just like the ingredients are more prominent than the branding, which is conventionally a mistake, but based upon the value proposition, then also potential misunderstanding of the branding by a consumer who doesn't associate prescribed with like doing the workout as written. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. This is
Exactly. And like, thing is, we leave it to you. It's like we lay it out there. It's your choice. We don't adulterate you with like claims up the ass. Like, you know, it is here. It is. It's transparent, and there you are. Like, it's your decision. Like, we're not going to trick you with a big cookie or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. And even in like sort of like basic copywriting and marketing principles, that's people can feel when they're being overly sold to a lot of the time. It doesn't mean it doesn't work on a high percentage of people, but people can still feel it when you're not being transparent, or when everything you're doing is sort of spun to make you feel or think a certain way. And the sort of transparency of just displaying ingredients, I think is genius, right?
Yeah, it's worked, and it's true. I mean, it's like we have quantifiable whole food ingredients. Here they are. Like, there's nothing fancy about it.
Sure. So in terms of actually growing the company, right? I mean, you mentioned kind of, okay, cool, we were making bars in the basement, kind of like scrambling to have enough to, supply the few gyms we were working with. And then we kind of were talking about, this rebrand, which is obviously after a significant amount of success in terms of being able to sell bars. What kind of happens in between, right? There's a lot of gaps there that I think are really interesting in terms of figuring out, what does that trajectory actually look like?
Yeah, it's hustle. Like that gap from basement to rebrand is just, hustling, to be honest. Attracting good people to join your team is everything. Constantly improving your product, like seeking change is like, I think, a common thing. It's like, don't just do something because that's how it's done. Like, always pursue to make it better. And learning, like listening, like that's all that was, from the kitchen to commercialization and the rebranding. Like, it's just this constant pattern of doing that. Humility is an important part of like one of our values, and like if we didn't have humility from the beginning into even today, like we wouldn't be as successful.
Sure. Yeah. It's there's like a weird combination of having to like think that you're awesome and can handle stuff and withstand adversity and whatever, coupled with sort of like that humility to not just trust everything that you think, or think that you're immune to problems and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So in terms of basically, I mean, because I think there's a lot of interesting points along that journey where it's like, okay, at what point do you quit your job? At what point do you start to actually manufacture bars, not yourself? At what point do you decide to hire someone? Like, what did that process look like?
So for me, when I decided to like jump off the cliff, I had a miserable job. I learned how not to run a company, how not to treat employees from this job.
Which actually is really valuable.
Yeah, it was actually, like looking back, awesome experience. Just terrible entrepreneurs I worked for. Didn't know a thing about growing a business.
I thought you said you weren't going to be negative on podcasts.
But it was great. Best experience I've ever had. So, and so I was that was like probably a low point in my life. And then I remember I told myself, like, as soon as I have a fucking product to sell, I'm leaving, because that means I could like generate income of some sort to stay afloat. So for me, that was different. Like, I didn't have a family. I don't have a kid. I had like $2,000 a month I had to like float. So it was easy for me. As soon as I had a product to sell, I was jumping. And my partner was very similar. He jumped at the same time. So that decision was easy for me, I think. And the thing is, like, I was prepared to like not go out. I was prepared to do that. I can do what it takes. So, what was your other question? And then like when to hire?
Yeah, so I mean, so you get to the point where you're selling enough bars, making them yourself, that you can quit your job. Yeah, so kind of like go to work all day, make bars all night, knock on gyms' doors, sell the bars. I mean, the thing is too is that the product is good, right? The product back then, I mean, you would probably argue, but it wasn't that different than it is.
No, it's same principles.
Yeah, it's the flavors were approximately similar, the texture was approximately similar, so it was a good product, right? So like pretty quickly, people try the bar and
we knew it would work.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah, we knew it would work. And like when I talk about product change, I'm talking like if it's going to change 0.05% to get better, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
And to me, I notice that stuff, so most people don't, but.
But they do in the aggregate. They don't necessarily notice the little thing, like, oh, like this is moister now, or whatever, right? Like, it's not like people are.
Yeah. But the other question was when to hire people. So
Yeah, well, so you're like, okay, cool. We're making enough money that I can quit my job and like know that I'm going to exist, right? That I'm not just going to starve and die.
Yeah.
I can still go to the gym and all that type of stuff. And then what's the next big step for you then? Was it actually having someone else make the bars? Was it hiring staff?
yeah, it's this idea of like workload to revenue, and that's when you can hire people. But the next thing was just like sales cures all, sell the product, figure out how to make it more efficiently, and just, I look back at our first like 6 months and it was like a kind of a blur. We just like head down, grow, sell, make better, and then when to like commercialize the product is like when you have a certain volume point that you can kind of bridge that gap, and that took us a while, but. Most brands, when they start, they orchestrate this stuff. Like, I'm gonna pay an agency to go design my brand, and I'm gonna go pay a food scientist to go formulate my product, and I'm gonna go pay, go raise money from these private equity people who have knowledge in the industry and to help me, and then I get to orchestrate this stuff. And like Jared and I just shut the fuck up and like designed our own thing, formulated our own thing, and packed our own thing, and sold our own thing. And when I look back at that process of doing that, that was everything, because now we holistically know the whole business.
Sure.
We're not relying on anybody.
Yeah.
We're in control, and then we can manage our finished product inventory, which is most important.
Yeah, which again is interesting as like a business owner where you don't want to have to do everything, but there's probably value in at least knowing the outlines of how everything is done.
Mm-hmm. Like if your programming's broken, you can fix it.
Yeah.
Now imagine if you had to pay someone else down the street to fix it.
Right.
Like that'd be a problem.
Yeah.
And it's like mastering of your craft. Like I didn't know anything about bars, got into it and mastered it, or continued trying to master it. And like when something's broken, I can fix it. I'm not relying on some doctor, PhD in Minnesota to formulate. Like.
Yeah, dude, those Minnesota PhDs, man.
Yeah, from Pillsbury or something.
Yeah.
Like, because he doesn't care. That's the thing, is like, you care about your business. No one's going to care more about it than you. And like, you're fooling yourself if you think you can pay someone to do it.
Sure. So did you guys bootstrap this company the whole time?
Yeah, we started with $10,000.
Yeah, that's impressive. So basically you were able to sell enough to just kind of like keep...
Yeah, batch to
next stage of
sale.
growth. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Because I mean,
No one would have given us money anyway,
yeah.
so.
I mean, because you sort of intuitively think that, okay, to scale from CrossFit gyms to being in a grocery store, that at some point you're just going to have to dump a large amount of cash in to effectively make that transition in terms of the volume that you're producing. But it sounds like you probably were able to make that a smoother transition than that.
Yeah, and my partner Jared's good at finance. I'm not very good at it, so we've done a good, like personal guarantees and banks. Like that's how we've done it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so.
Swiped a few credit cards and got it going. So in terms of actually, hiring people, how did that process work? And when did you hire someone before you actually started having someone else make the bars? Did you have someone working for you in a sales role or an admin role? What did that look like?
So I would say we started hiring. Hiring's everything. People are everything. That's how you scale a business. In the beginning, I would say from 2 people, so Jared and myself, to like 8 people, it was very flat organization, and we just a bunch of generalists. There's so much work. It's more like high five. You got this. I got that. And then going from 8 to kind of double digits to like 12, 16 people, the organization totally changes to like departments, structure, like how do decisions get made? Like how do we run the business, like how do we structure the week to run the business too? And now we'll have like 27 people next Monday, and like it's crazy, like just how the organization changes and how I don't know what I'm going at, but like yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
so people are everything. Like
and how do you pick a person then?
So we have like a pretty formalized culture. And like, I think it's important to define culture. So culture is how you work, how you live. And Jared and I, when we were just two of us, had a culture, right? And like, if I was talking rude to a customer or short, like Jared would slap me and be like, "Hey, don't talk to a customer like that." And like, that's how you work, right? And so when it's two people, it's easy to like control and manage it. But when you go from 8 and you have 16 people, like Jared can't slap the hand of someone being rude to a customer because he can't hear it. And so it's not scalable. So you have to have like values.
Sure.
That kind of like rules on how we work. So we formalized that, and so we hired a culture. We fired a culture. And I thought it was a buzzword, but it's true. Like, it eats strategy.
Yeah.
You can have the best strategy, best product, but if you have a shit culture with no integrity or whatever, like, you can't grow.
Sure. Yeah. So I think that there's again, there's kind of like a gap there where most people who have some understanding of business or have read any business books or anything understand. Okay, culture. I need a mission and vision. Like, cool. Let me fill out this worksheet that comes in the back of this business book I bought, and I'm going to use words like integrity and commitment and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then, what does that actually like? How does that then become translated into, like you said, like an actual thing that can affect someone's behavior? Or how do you enforce that? Or how do you even, speaking to someone in an interview, how can you tell if they resonate with that?
Yeah. So for culture, like, it has to be authentic, right? Like, if you and I were to start a company right now, like, we couldn't come up with our values today. Like, so for us, when we formalize our values and our culture, we just looked at our history, and we look back like. So we just laid out our history, and we looked at like there's different different anecdotes of like, all right, this is how we've taken care of people. This is how we've like always had integrity, and like you can pull those values from our story, so they're not just arbitrary.
Sure.
So that's how we did it. We just looked back at like how we built a business, how we think about our product, how we think about our customers. Like, we have the best in class customer service. Like, how we take care of our people, like our employees. How we handle situations. Like, you just look back at our history and like you could just pull those, and so they're not pulled from a pocket, they're like actually like pulled from a story, so that's important. And then what were you saying before? Was the second part?
Yeah, so you're able to define this through your history and just kind of like the way that you and Jared operate the company and want to see the company operate. But then how does that then translate into, okay, someone is being hired?
Questions.
Do you train them? Like, what? How do they then assimilate this this culture?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, diversity is important too. So it's not like there's not one fit mold. Like, you need diversity. For me, I just ask questions that point at our values. Like, they're kind of like they're weird questions. My interviews are fun. Like, they're weird questions that like
Let's do one.
Well, like, for example, my favorite question is like, who's your biggest competition, like, professionally? And for me, that tells you your mindset. Like, it's like, if your biggest competition's your boss or like your peer at work, that's a problem. Like,
sure.
Your biggest competition should be like who you're competing with in the market. That's your biggest competition. Like, like, for example, if we're interviewing a social media manager for a role, like, his biggest competition is what his competing company's social media manager. Sure. That's who that's where his mind should be, not internal.
What kind of so what answers do people give to that? Is it usually an internal answer, like, or is it like my mom?
Yeah, it's funny. It's usually it's like myself, which that doesn't count.
That's like a fake answer, weak. Though. That's like, what's your biggest weakness? I just work too hard. You can't stop me from working. So that
doesn't count. And then a lot of times it's like a sibling, and that doesn't count. And then it's often like the person in the role. Like, if it's a big corporate company, like, it's often, if they're a vice president, it's like their senior vice president, and like, that's a consequence of the culture they're coming from.
Yeah, it's a weird like chimpanzee politics, man.
Yeah, exactly. And like, for us, like, that's in straight violation of collaboration. Like, we're on the same team working together to achieve a common goal, not competing for like title.
Sure.
So that's probably my favorite questions. And also my other favorite question is like, what do you do for work-life balance? And that's not a question of like, do you think work-life balance is important? I don't care about, like, that is like, there's no question about that. Like, and the whole aim of it is like, do you have interests? Like, do you have hobbies? Like, or do you just like watch Netflix all day? Like, what interests do you have? Because A players have interests, and A players, But that's also like another guy, like they pursue excellence. Like if you have hobbies, if you like work out, you do things, and like you're into gardening or you're into cooking, like those are interests that like you like to do things, you like to work, you like to drive, you like to pursue excellence in some way, and that's important. So that's one of my other favorite questions.
Sure. Yeah, I like asking people what they're reading.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like a...
Or who's your role model is a good one too.
Yeah. So, who's your biggest competition?
I can't tell you.
Can't tell you.
I can't. Next question.
Take a pass.
Yeah.
Take a pass. I mean, I actually think that's an interesting way to think. That's an interesting question, because my response to that would probably be, I don't know if this is a person, but in the fitness industry, I think the biggest competition is people doing nothing. Right? People starting and stopping stuff. It's not necessarily like, oh, I'm competing with this specific gym or brand or entity. It's like most people just actually like are incapable of committing to anything or starting anything. And that's
So what is that word for that?
I don't know.
Laziness?
See, I don't know if laziness is fair though. Like I think that in the big picture, it could be considered laziness, but in a moment to moment type of situation, I don't necessarily think it's just pure laziness.
No, it's people. I think
There's a lot of
they're afraid of being uncomfortable.
Yeah, and well, not just uncomfortable. There's a lot of psychology surrounding it, where it's like, it's okay. I need to plan this. I need to get all my ducks in a row before I start this, or like, okay, I want to do this, but I'm afraid I'm going to get laughed at for this, so I need to handle that before I can go to the gym. Like, there's a lot of like, once I do this, then I'll be able to do that. And it just kind of builds up enough that it doesn't quite ever happen.
With you starting your own gym, how is your level of fitness?
It's way worse. Way worse.
Isn't it ironic?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's super common. I mean, at some point in my life, I was like a moderately competitive CrossFit athlete. And then, the rigors of running a business pretty much stomped that out of me. So that's fine. I'll make that trade-off.
Yeah, a goal of mine in 2013 was to make regionals when CrossFit was more amateur.
Yeah.
It was a lofty goal that I couldn't do.
Yeah, how many protein bars do you think you would have sold if you were the protein bar guy who made regionals?
Less. Less.
Way less.
Way less.
Way less.
Yeah.
So what do you do for work-life balance?
So I'm terrible. Like I love my work. Like, I don't know. I love what I do, so I don't need much balance. Like my threshold is a lot higher than
Sure.
I think most. So I like to read, but I'm not good at reading, so it's hard. But I like to work out. I like to cook. I like to spend time with my family. Yeah, those are my main things. But I love work. Like I work a lot, so I don't have much time for it.
Sure.
But I like to read, cook. I love to garden. That's actually a passion of mine.
What's your favorite plant?
That's a good question, Todd. I don't know. I like them all, to be honest. I wish we were in like Southern California where you can grow anything all year. But no, I find beauty in all plants. So.
There you go. Well, I love them all equally.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you mentioned you work a lot. So, what does like day-to-day stuff actually look like for you? Like, literally, what are you doing for RXBAR on a daily basis?
I have to say, I'm secretly like guilty being here. I should be at work.
Yeah. Do you feel that all the time?
Yeah, I feel a lot of guilt if I'm not in the office. Well, I'm working on that though. Normal day. So I'm not like a huge routine person, so I'll get in between like 7 and 9. Monday, I like to always plan I don't check my emails. I'll like plan my week and think about like what are key priorities that I need to get done this week, or like what am I really, if this week passes, like what do I really want to accomplish so this week's a win. So I like to think like that. So I break out my to-do list for the week, and I'll carry over outstanding to-dos. So that's what I do Monday, and then it's a lot of meetings and kind of putting out fires, but I try not to put out too many fires. But it's a lot of it, and then just making sure the people on our team have everything they need. And Yeah.
So
a
you're
lot.
kind of almost functioning in like a support role then.
Yeah, like I don't do like it's funny. Like my role's totally changed. We have an awesome team. Like I'm so grateful. But yeah, as like the CEO role, like it's about the culture. Like so your people have a place to be and work, and it's about the vision, so everyone knows where they're going. It's about providing like the resources in the right way. And then when I'm done doing that, all my efforts are on R&D.
Sure.
So my free time
So
I
like
do
new
R&D.
products?
Yeah, like product improvement, new products, flavor innovation, just all types of innovation. So, yeah.
And is that what you want to do if you just had like no fires, no meetings, whatever? What would you?
No,
want
it's not
to
so much
do?
what I want to. I just feel like that's where I can provide the most value to
Sure.
like all stakeholders, customers, employees, vendors, everybody. Like, that's right. I think my time is where it's most valuable. But yeah, but I like doing. I like
Do you have
doing
like
everything.
a special like intuition for flavors and things like that, and
Yeah,
understanding
it's
the vision
just
of the
my
company?
shtick, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like product gaps. I don't know.
Sure.
I'm a food guy, so
Yeah. A foodie.
yeah, like not like that. Yeah, like how I gotta. But yeah, it's a lot of fires, but I try not to do reactionary work
Sure.
and more like proactive work. And like something I'm playing around with, is like email hack. Like your inbox is like the death of productivity.
That's true.
And like, because you can just sit in your inbox, react to emails all day and like inquiries, solicitations, and like nothing get done. So that's something I'm tinkering around with, is like trying to be more productive and not, and like standing away from like reactionary mode and actually like thinking about goals and objectives, and I like focus more of my time on achieving those rather than just like reacting to emails or like other people's requests.
Yeah. Sure.
Like serving, yeah, that's just,
yeah. I mean, it needs to be done at some point, but it can
For sure,
quickly
like-
become the only thing you do.
yeah, like customers come first, but you just get bombarded at some point. Like something as an entrepreneur I've learned is like learning to say no is super important.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. I think that
not for no sake, but having a plan and like being disciplined to that plan is really important, and not just because opportunities, like if you open yourself a business and keep your doors really open, like so much comes by.
right.
You can't say yes to it all.
Yeah, I think that some other podcast potentially, I actually think it's Derek Sivers. He's talking about, there's sort of like an inflection point where, when you start, you have to say yes to everything because you're just like throwing yourself out there and trying to get,
Oh, yeah.
someone to pay attention to you. And at some point, there's an inflection point where it's like, whoa, I suddenly have actually way more stuff to do than I can possibly handle. And then your mindset has to switch to I'm saying no to everything now.
Yeah.
And that can be tough to make that switch. I know I probably, still say yes to way too much stuff and have a hard time.
Yeah, like you'll overbook yourself,
Oh, God, yeah.
and then
I'm like, oh, this will take me an hour. And I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
what? No, please.
yeah, you want to like under promise and over deliver too. Always like it's just always a general win, and then underwhelming people. Like I'm terrible at my calendar, and I overbook stuff all the time.
It
I'm
happens.
getting better
I
at
think
it.
it happens
but-
to everyone.
Yeah.
So I mean, one thing I think that you mentioned is I was asking you what you would do if you had just like total control over your time, and you said that you think you add the biggest value in sort of the R&D role in terms of like flavors and new products and updating products and all that type of stuff. But that's not necessarily what you would choose to do. What would you choose to do?
God, that's a good question. I mean, I love selling. I love marketing. I hate, like I know what I suck at, and I suck at like finance, accounting, like. So I'm so grateful. Like my partner's awesome at it.
Reading.
I suck at reading, but I do that. I like all aspects of the business. I just know like the thing is like there's people better than me at marketing and selling, so like I don't do that all the time. I support it, and like I view it as like they're a rocket ship, and I just like jump on when they need me or whatever. But yeah, I mean I like all aspects of the business. I just think for me, like if I look back from a shareholder's perspective, I provide the most value in R&D given the organizational layout. When I have free time.
Sure.
So I don't know if I answered your question, but
No. I mean, I just thought that was interesting. Where it's like, where you're choosing to spend your time isn't necessarily where you would want to spend your time.
no, like making batches in the fucking lab is not like fun. You know what I mean? Like it's not blunt. Like
I mean, it sounds kind of cool.
It's. I mean, when you do it every day, like brothers, I don't cook as much anymore because like I'm fucking in a lab a lot, and it's like I don't want to go home and get like clean more dishes or like be around dishes and shit. Like,
Yeah.
But I'm not alone, so it helps.
So are you just like in there like making goop all day?
I'm gonna call it Goop Todd.
I mean, what would you call it then?
Yeah, testing. A lot of testing, trial and error. Like trial and error is like the name of the game. So you're running different experiments, trying new raw materials, testing new flavors, new products, all of that. It's just fun. Like a passion of mine is like creation, right? Like,
Sure.
Idea of like that's why I like gardening. Is like you take a seed, you put it in the soil, you water it, you take care of it, and you let nature take its course, and you can grow it, build it, maintain it, and like at the end of it, it yields this beautiful fruit that you can eat, sell, do whatever with. And that process is beautiful. And like same thing with a business or a product. Like kind of each step, each brick you can lay, and like that the whole process is awesome.
So in terms of like products and development and things like that, what directions do you go with that? Do you just kind of come up with an idea and say, okay, I want to try this flavor, or are you basing this on market research? Like, what does that actual creativity look like?
I look for like gaps. It's like white space from.
So like what would an example of that be?
I can't tell you. Well, like our bar, like for example, like there wasn't a natural protein bar. There wasn't like one with egg whites and dates, like a minimal ingredient protein bar. So like that was a gap. There's very like granola bars on the left, and then like chocolate covered or like heavily fortified protein bars, and there wasn't something like in the middle that like fits a natural protein bar, but like didn't scream performance or didn't scream hippie. So that was a gap, right? And so I look for gaps. And what was your other question?
Yeah, so I mean, so say you identify a gap, then do you just kind of go off of intuition, try to make something, and then test it, or?
Yeah, for us, the challenging thing is like we have such high like ingredient standards that it's not like easy for us to formulate beyond. It's just really challenging. Like we're not gonna put garbage or like fillers in it, so it's a particular tall order. I can't give you all my secrets.
Of course not.
But that's how I think about it.
Sure. I mean, well, let's go backwards then, so rather than forwards, because you don't want to have the competition listening in on your podcast.
They're not.
I mean, you didn't say who they were, so they're going to be okay. I mean, so you guys released a new flavor of RXBARs recently, right? Maple sea salt.
Yes.
Which is super delicious.
Thank you.
Like, what's the deal with that? How did that come to pass?
So like, yeah. Now one thing is like flavor innovations. It's fun. It's fun to talk about it, but it's not like real innovation. You know what I mean? So the way we thought about it is like, all right, we have there's like two types of people, like chocolate people and then like fruit people, and like that's kind of like split.
What about vanilla people?
So vanilla is interesting, and that would like fall under like. It's funny, we were talking about this yesterday. Like what? So there's like, where would peanut butter fall under?
Yeah.
And like vanilla, I feel like would fall under like third category, and like this is where maple sea salt would fall under too.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know what it is, but generally there's like chocolate people, and then there's like fruit people, and so we didn't want to do another chocolate. We didn't want to do another fruit flavor, like cherry, blueberry, mixed berry, or something like that, or banana, whatever. And so we wanted to do something that complemented it before we went with all those two. And so what is that third category though? I don't know.
You're the bar guy, man.
But that's how we thought about it. Color's beautiful. And the thing is, like, if we produce something really great in our lab, like in our kitchen, like we want to get it to our customers as soon as possible. Like we don't follow some like romantic calendar. We want to produce the best stuff for our customers. So
sure. So say you make the flavor, then do you just test it yourself? And you're like, all right, this is pretty good, we're making it, or do you guys do focus groups, beta tests? How does that work?
No, we don't do that. We send it to our customers, to be honest. So we'll give like preliminary like stuff we make out of our kitchen, and we'll send it to some really good customers, some people we're friends with in the industry, and then like get their opinion, and then just develop from there. It takes, I'd say, 9 months from like conception to market.
And how do you know they're telling you the truth? Because I mean, honestly, man, if you
We ask.
But if you give me any bar and you're like, "Is this good?" I'd probably be like, "Yeah, I think so. I don't know."
Yeah, the sample size is big enough where we know.
Like,
And
you
to be
see how
honest,
many they ate.
yeah, to be honest, I can like our team can just tell. Like,
Yeah.
you can tell a winner when you like. We don't want to sell crap, and you can just tell it's a winner. Like, for example, we were making a vanilla almond or an almond vanilla, and like that kind of just sucked, and we just stopped. You know what I mean? We didn't need to like do fucking tests and like do a consumer panel. Like, it sucked.
Just wasn't good.
Yeah, I'm like,
I started putting vanilla extract in my oatmeal.
it's amazing.
It's really good. And then the other day I just dumped a bunch in. I was just like, ugh, and then it just tasted like alcohol, and it was so horrible.
Wow.
It was not good at all.
No balance.
Yeah, man. I mean, I didn't even mean to. I just kind of like, the hand got a little out of control. Just dumped it in there. So the flavor innovation is straightforward then at some level, where you're just like, okay, we're just going to try a bunch of different flavors, and the ones that are good, we're going to actually.
It's like we can't do tiramisu, right? Like, that's not on brand for us. So it's like,
Sure.
we can do cherry. Like,
Yeah.
okay, like we can do cherry chocolate, all right? Or we can do peanut butter chocolate. Like, we can't get like crazily creative. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's what I mean. Like, it's not like, for me, like getting a new product, that's innovation.
Right,
Like,
sure.
that's
what-
challenging.
so without giving away your secrets, what are you doing towards that?
Spending a lot of time. I don't know. Like,
Finagling with stuff?
yeah,
Ingredients?
thinking, a lot of thought.
And is this you kind of sitting there in the lab, or is it you and food scientists?
Yeah, we have a food scientist, Ilyana.
Yeah.
She's awesome. It's our whole team though. Like, we're all thinking of like problem solving basically, like, and like what's next, and that's like part of our culture. Like, it's like we seek change.
Sure.
Like, we seek better. So.
Yeah, so then what is your next priority then? Is it continuing to get RXBAR into more and more outlets? Is it coming up with a new product? I mean, those are obviously, not mutually exclusive, but at some level you have to focus on one.
Yeah, so I think this is funny. I think my priorities are perfection of RXBAR, like just continually making the product better. We're launching a new business next quarter, so spending time on that, and then like organizational development, like organizational sophistication. So making sure like our people and our company is in the best spot possible and have all the resources and like organizational development basically.
Sure.
So those are my 3 priorities.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, and with the perfection of our XBAR then, so that's more of a priority than new products. So new
Yes,
products are something
100%.
you're always kind of playing with, and then
Yeah,
if
exactly.
something sticks, then you may run with it. But
Yeah, because like we have a great business, and it's irresponsible to like let that not be a priority. You know what I mean? And like holistically, we're thinking about how can we make it better from like all aspects of the product and the business. So
sure, yeah, and I think that's that process is kind of never ending because
never ending.
I mean, just with the gym, the priority for so long has always been new membership. Like, we just need more people to actually, function, and we still need more people. But then, you focus so much on that, and you don't worry as much about, okay, like programming, coaching, whatever, because the quality was already so high. Then at some point you're like, wait, hold on a second. Like, we have neglected this for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we actually need to have plans in place to deal with this, and then you have to kind of circle back and
Yep.
keep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like one of our like, I feel like what that is at the core, like for me, it's like the entrepreneurial spirit. Like, it's seeking change. It's like being solution oriented, and like for your business, it's like staying up to date, like being plugged in with like what's the best training philosophy, what's working, like how can we make our members better. It's not getting comfortable. It's being outside your comfort zone, like pushing the boundaries, and it's the same thing for like our business.
Yeah, man. So, Peter,
Yeah.
what should I have asked you that I didn't ask you? What other interview questions do you have? that you want to answer yourself?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. What was your biggest mistake? I think that's a good one.
What was your biggest mistake?
There's a lot of mistakes. I look back, probably the biggest mistake was being stuck in reactionary work and not planning.
For how long?
Fucking beginning. Like the first year was just like shooting from the hip, and that's part of the territory, I think, when you just you gotta get sales. Like it's, me and Jared, like we weren't able to plan because we're just so in the weeds and underwater. And like the biggest mistake we had is like we couldn't get ourselves out of water, and we didn't plan. We just lived day by day, week by week, and our head was down. And our lack of planning cost us a lot, but we learned, and now we plan a lot. Now we probably planning is that's what part of my day is planning.
Weekly.
Like I think about planning all the time. I have my plans out like on my desktop all the time. So that was the biggest mistake.
So with
no planning.
Yeah, with that, was there a moment where like something happened, or you're like, oh man, we've really been screwing this up, or was it just kind of like frustration over time?
We just fucked up. Our old place where we were renting from, the landlord was just pretty envious, and every month there's this thread of like, he's going to sell the building, we have to figure out a place to move. And we never planned about what if he sold it, and then one day he sold it, and then like we had 30 days to get the fuck out of there, and like it affected our business. Yeah. And like if we would have had a plan like A and then a plan B, or like thought about it, like we wouldn't have gotten ourselves into trouble.
Sure.
But we were stuck in the weeds, just putting out fires, reacting, and so we couldn't address that. And the big lesson for me, and I always say this, like we didn't, like planning is important.
Sure.
And like I'm not a big, I don't know, like every department, everybody needs to have a plan, because you don't know where you're going, like, and it's all about objective setting. Like, what are we trying to achieve? Like, where are we going? Why are we doing this? So, like, that's like so important. Because again, you can just sit back and just put out fires, react all day. It's easy. It's comfortable.
Yeah. And it allows you to tell yourself a story about, oh man, everyone's such an idiot, and I just need to take care of everyone, and like, and then that's fulfilling for you too, as the fatherly patriarch of the business.
Yeah. So that was probably.
Yeah, no, that's
makes
great.
sense.
Yeah, no, completely. I mean, because
Do you have experience like that?
Absolutely. I mean, we had a bunch of trouble on the real estate market trying to find a home for the gym. And I wouldn't say we went into that without planning, but it was just like a constant battle. But I mean, we had a lot of stuff almost shut us down over and over and over again. And at some point I was like, hold on, like I am not dedicating my time properly. I'm not structuring my life properly. That all of this is just like way too loose and way too haphazard. Like it's not gonna work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if people are interested in RXBAR, what's the deal, man? What should they do?
Email us, call us, 312-624-8200. Stop by Soft Loop Strength Conditioning. Get your ass kicked. But feel good.
Feel good.
Make some friends.
Work out, feel good.
No, we're hiring. You can find our product on a lot of great retail partners. Our website, of course.
Yeah, man. So it's easy for consumers to buy it. You can get it at grocery stores, gyms. If they want to sell it, then they just set up a wholesale account.
Email us, call us. We try to take care of everyone. Like we try to blow people away with our service.
Yeah, the bars taste good, so you buy them and then you sell them usually.
Oh yeah, and another question, like when do you eat the product? So it's great for a breakfast substitute if you're on the go. If you're like a CrossFit athlete, it's probably not enough for you. It's great whole meal over between lunch and dinner, or breakfast and lunch. Hour before training, perfect. Great balance of carbs and fat, and a high quality protein source. So, and then right after workout, great as well. So it's a diverse application. So if you're like on a competing on the weekend, like it's great to have a couple of them. So they're kind of like a little safety.
Yeah, it's true. As a man who often is low on calories, they are helpful delightful treat.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, man. Thanks for taking the time, bud.
No, thank you.
Let's wrap it up there.